Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, That Model Railway Guy, and welcome to another new loco review. Today I'm taking a look at the new J27 from Oxford Rail. These were released in the last couple of months, and as you can see, mine is in the LNER plain black livery, which I think was the first version to be released. Now, I've never actually bought an Oxford Rail loco before, so I'm not entirely sure what to expect. However, as you can see on the info down the side of the screen now, the RRP for these locos is around £110, and I bought mine from a retailer for just over £86. With prices for locos reaching the £200 mark, and in some cases exceeding that, you have to admit that this low price is really attractive. It's a breath of fresh air, but does that mean we'll see a significant dip in quality or features? Well, looking at the loco, it seems like a fairly simple affair. It is just in plain black, which isn't the most exciting livery, but it does suit this type of loco. And then we do have the number printed on the side of the cab. Similarly, we also have the LNER lettering on the side of the tender, and again, this is printed really well. The colours aren't as bright as some of my other LNER locos, but in isolation like this, you can't tell, and even when the locos are together, it's really difficult to see. There's also a tiny builder's plate, I think, just here on the splasher, and that's a nice little printed detail too. Moving around to the buffers, again we have some of that nice lettering on the buffer beam with the loco's number. And then underneath in tiny white writing we have the class designation, and despite all this being really small, it's still nice and sharp. The buffers themselves are sprung, and considering the price of this loco, I wasn't sure if that was going to be the case, but I'm glad to say that they are. What's especially nice is that these buffers are made of metal too. Oxford could have saved a bit of money here, but instead they've actually gone that little bit extra. Looking at the front of the smoke box, you can see we do have a nice separately fitted dart here. And then looking along the top of the loco, the funnel and the dome look great as well. Equally, the safety valve is nicely made too, and just take a look at the whistles up on top of the cab. These do seem to be made of metal, which is a really nice feature, and one I'm always in favour of. The colour just seems so much better when parts like these are metal, and they're less likely to fall off or get damaged too, which just gives the loco a feeling of quality. Another quick thing to mention as well is that below the boiler we do have a representation of the motion in there, and that is picked out in red as well. I know I'm repeating myself here, but they could have left that off or just not even painted it, but by including it, again, it's just another added detail that you wouldn't necessarily expect from a more budget-friendly loco. Looking inside the cab, there's yet another surprise. I think we generally expect some level of decoration in here nowadays, but Oxford have really gone to town. Everything has been picked out, from the pipes to the levers and even the firebox door. It looks like they've even painted the dials on the gauges. I mean, I'm really starting to get surprised at how they're achieving this level of detail for such a low price. Or is it just that other model railway companies are ripping us off? I don't know, but I'm certainly impressed. Moving along to the tender, we have coal rails along the top, and I have to admit these do feel a bit flimsy, so if you are fitting a decoder into one of these at any point, do be aware of that. The coal load inside the tender isn't removable, but it is fairly small, so if you're the sort of person who does prefer to add more realistic coal, that still shouldn't be an issue. Finally, looking at the back of the loco, there's not much to see here, but again we do have some lamp irons and handrails, which actually I didn't mention earlier, but we do have those on the rest of the loco too. To be honest, there's really only one area that I'm not that keen on, and that is the wheels. The wheel rims haven't been blackened, and so because the metal is still quite shiny, it does make it look a bit toy-like in my opinion. Now, it's not terrible, but considering the lengths they've gone to with the rest of the model, it is a little bit of a shame. They also haven't painted the centres of the wheels where the axles show, so yeah, they've dropped the ball there a bit, but I don't think it detracts from an otherwise really nicely detailed loco. So we've established that this has plenty of extra detail for a fairly simple loco. So can we expect the same when it comes to performance? Well, the J27 is on the rolling road, and I'm turning the power up now. So it does kick into life a bit. There isn't much of a crawl, but the slow speed itself is nice and smooth, and it does feel fairly controllable. We do have pickups on almost all the wheels, just one of the sets on the tender doesn't pick up, which is a bit strange, but generally it's enough to keep it going. And just running it a bit faster now, you can see the loco is generally a pretty good runner. Speaking of the pickups though, I did actually have an issue with this loco when it first arrived. None of the pickups on the main part of the loco were working, and so it was relying entirely on those two tender pickups. Initially I thought the pickups just weren't making enough contact, but actually I'd adjusted them and that didn't turn out to be the case. At one point I did think I was actually going to have to return the loco because it was stuttering and stalling constantly, but interestingly, Oxford Rail wouldn't send a replacement out to the retailer I bought it from, or at the very least they were going to make it extremely difficult. Instead, they were pushing me to get a refund from the retailer and then rebuy the loco from Oxford directly, albeit for the full RRP, of course. I mean, I know they're a business and they need to make money, but at the same time, if someone has bought your product and it's not working properly, trying to push them into spending more money probably isn't the best course of action, in my opinion. Anyway, thankfully I did manage to get it working properly in the end. Inside there was a couple of loose wires, and also the pins on the tender connection were bent too, so half the power wasn't getting through. I have to admit I wasn't that happy about having to dismantle and repair a loco straight out of the box, but to be honest, I'm glad I have got it running properly now. Anyway, enough of that, and as you can see, the loco runs just as well in reverse too. So generally there's nothing special with how the J27 runs. It hasn't blown my socks off with its slow speed, but that said, there isn't anything wrong with it. Or at least there isn't now, but generally it's a pretty good, consistent runner. Hopefully we might see that slow speed start to improve a bit when we get it pulling a train on the layout. So let's try that now, shall we? So here is the Oxford Rail J27 down on the layout, and despite this being a relatively simple model, it still looks the part. Now, I know originally these would have hauled freight trains, but I can never resist an opportunity to get the teak coaches out, so the purists will just have to suffer through this one. And off it goes. Again, the running is good, nothing to write home about, but you can see it's coping with this train without any problems. The Oxford Rail J27 is a really good bargain in my opinion. It's not a particularly flashy model or anything, it's simple, but it's simple done to a high standard. The amount of detail on this loco that cost me less than £90 is just incredible, and it shows what manufacturers can do while still keeping the costs down. Honestly, if you're looking for a good loco that runs well with great detail, then this is definitely worth a look. I think it'll be a great stepping stone for those who have started out with cheaper models who now want something a bit better, and honestly at this price Oxford are giving the Hornby Railroad range a run for their money. Now on that note, it was announced recently that Hornby have now bought Oxford in its entirety. I think they had some stake in it before, but now they own it outright, and I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. On the one hand, it's good that Hornby have shown an interest. They must be impressed with what Oxford Rail are doing and what they have in the works for the future as well. The thing is, does this mean we'll see Oxford Rail start to disappear? Will future models be absorbed into Hornby like the Terrier supposedly was, or will Oxford continue to exist? And even if it does remain its own brand, which Hornby has implied is their plan, will we then see the prices start to rise? That would be a real shame, because Oxford Rail has become a real outlier lately by producing decent models for decent prices. They've proven that they can get really good results that don't cost the earth, and it would be a real shame to see that go away. I suppose really only time will tell, but let me know down in the comments what you think. Anyway, to sum up, if you're in the market for an 060 tender engine, but you don't want to break the bank, the J27 is a fantastic model and well worth taking a look at. It may not be as exciting or unique as that D-Class that I reviewed from Dapple a few months ago, but then the J27 doesn't come with that high price tag either, and it still has plenty of features. Sure, there may be a few things I wasn't keen on, like the wheels and the fact that it wasn't working great out of the box, but for a low price like this, I'm more inclined to kind of overlook those things than I would if this was a £200 model. It may be simple, but it ticks all the boxes, and sometimes that's all you need. So if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notifications. I'll be back with another video really soon, but in the meantime, thanks for watching. Bye!